Nice to see you. Oh, our neighbour's rock garden.
This is Judy Monger. She is the daughter of Ernest Mansbridge, who played a key role in the making of the Spitfire as part of the technical office. He was employed by R.J. Mitchell in 1924 and was later responsible for all aerodynamics, performance, weight and flight testing.
A super dad he was. He was very quiet. Nothing upset him. And he just got on with what he had to do. He was looked after us very well. Very lucky to have had him looking after us. And the story goes that from my brother, who actually spoke to people who were there at the time, that my dad had the wings on his drawing board, and everybody would come along and say what they thought the wing shape should be. And so Dad just put the line through that he thought looked nicest. And I always see a Spitfire and think, there's my dad's lines.
As Judy grew up, the Spitfire was under development. And one day, at the age of 4, in 1936, her father brought her mother and the children to see the first flight of the new fighter plane.
We were playing in the garden and Father came home at an unusual hour and he said to Mother, "Would you like to see the first flight of our new aeroplane?" Mother said, "Oh, yes, please." Father said, "OK, what are you going to do with the children?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know. We'll have to come with us." And they did, in the back of the car. But you had to keep down in the back of the car when you go past the policeman. Father took us to Eastleigh and we parked outside this hangar down the bottom of the aerodrome. R.J. Mitchell stuck his head through and said hello to Mum, "How are you?" And Jeff was sat in the front on Mum's lap and he said hello to him. And then he said hello to Martin and I in the back seat, and "How are you enjoying this?" And "Yes, we're looking forward to it flying," and things like that. And then eventually this aeroplane was wheeled into the ready position and the pilot in a white suit climbed in and there's this wonderful sound of it starting up, boom, 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 and it taxied off up and flew off over the railway sheds. But I saw that aeroplane flying and I thought, "Oh, that's beautiful. I want to do that. Learn to fly, you know?" And eventually I did, which was great.
At the weekends, her father brought Judy and her brothers to wherever the Spitfire was being tested. Growing up in the Supermarine family gave the children some great adventures.
The very first time I flew in an aeroplane, we'd gone up to some airfield way out in the distance somewhere, and Geoffrey Quill was flying the Domini back to Eastleigh, and he said, "Well, do you want to come along?" So the two Smiths, Barbara and David, and Martin and I were flown back. It was our first ride in an aeroplane. We were quite little at the time. We'd play with the families of other members of the design team. In fact, we went to school with them. Just round the corner from us was a kindergarten school where we started in Pine Drive, and the Cliftons were there and the Sommers were there and Houghton was there, all members of the design team. And of course we'd play, they'd come to us and play and we'd go to them and play. And the dads and the mums, they were all friends as well, which was lovely. Big family.
Judy wanted to become a farmer, but after her studies she couldn't find the type of horticulture job she wanted. She ended up following in her father's footsteps.
When I was looking for a job, I saw this advertisement for flight test analysts, and so I applied for that and got it. Only to find when I started that I was actually working for my dad, because he was head of the flight test department. But he hadn't had any say in the matter that I knew of. Which was a very interesting job, and I went on with that.
Through her job at Vickers Armstrong, she got the opportunity to fulfill the dream she'd had since she saw the first test flight of the Spitfire, learning to fly.
Now let me salute the Mansbridge family, who live at Windy Ridge, Canes Hill, Bittern, for two of Mr. and Mrs. Mansbridge's sons, Martin, 24, and Geoffrey, 23, and their daughter Judy, 26, are all connected with aviation. All are employed by Vickers Armstrongs Limited. Judy at Wisley near Guildford as a flight test analyst, and Martin and Geoffrey at Hursley. They are now in the limelight because a week or so ago, Judy, flying with the Hampshire Aeroplane Club, gained her private pilot's licence. She is the first of the second course of Vickers employees to achieve this success. She began flying on August the 24th last year and went solo after just over 11 hours flying. That was on September the 22nd. She qualified for her licence on January the 3rd. I wasn't allowed to be in the first lot of flying group because I was a girl. And at that time, girls got paid 40% of what a man got for doing the same job. So whereas, men were getting £1, I was only getting 40p. But all the living expenses were the same. You had to work a lot of hours.
Aviation was not the only focus for the Mansbridge family. Judy and her brothers had a keen interest in motorbiking.
We'd go off on reliability trials at weekends, different places every weekend. And this particular one was the Southern Trial in 1956, in November 56. And even in a modified form, the climb was virtually impossible for sidecars. The majority of the soloists slithered off in the muddy bumps and the tapes were constantly being carried away. Lightweight seldom got beyond the first subsection. The BSA No. 1 team set the pace by completing the climb one after another without loss of marks. They'd have been very high-profile riders, of course. One of the few riders to succeed in a lightweight was J.S. Pinkney, 197 James. Loud applause greeted Miss Judy Mansbridge, 197 Son, the only lady competitor whose style and success were an object lesson to most of the males. How about that? I had another one where I rode the bike that belonged to Jackie White, who owned Half Eastleigh, and he wasn't able to ride it, so he lent it to me. And it went round the thing on its own, and it was in the Daily Express. Headline was "Woman beats 92 men" or something. Wasn't me, it was the bike. Just did it. Wonderful. Great days. Good fun.
Once a month, she joins a Spitfire lunch where people with different association to the plane meet for a chat.
After sea fires, what did you fly?
After sea fires, I flew Fireflies, and I did, first of all, as night fighters. They were pretty slow for a night fighter. I mean, aircraft were coming along now that were twice the speed.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure. The report I saw said it was the Cotswold Airport.
The Spitfire and her enthusiasm for aviation has played an important part in Judy's life. She has attended every anniversary of the test flight of the Spitfire.
Yes, see that thing going off and flying like that, sort of cut through the air and lovely. Had to do it.